with all our programming. So we're super excited that you all can join us. And the idea of mindfulness came around. Mike's done this workshop several times with multiple groups. He did it for us last year. Lots of people love this sort of thing. And what better time to talk about mindfulness than during a pandemic, right? Who would have thought that we'd be going through this right now? And you know, we've got businesses and families and health and all these things in our brain. Couldn't think of a better time to bring Mike back and have a word about mindfulness. So he's going to walk us through today. What is mindfulness? How do you incorporate it into your life? I think he's going to walk us through a process on this mindfulness, and also towards the end, just open up for questions and talk. You can rant and rave and just discuss, and we hope we can create this environment for you to do that. So Mike, if you want to kick it off, it's all yours.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm gonna mute everybody for right now, but obviously I want to have discussion, and so every now and then I'll stop and I'll say, okay, I'm muting everybody. Anybody want to ask a question or have an insight or suggestion? But just again to kind of on Zoom here, so we can keep extraneous noise down, I'll mute everybody. You can always wave at me if you really want to say something. Okay. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Mimi. Thank you, the Venture Center, for asking me to come back and do this virtually this time. As Ashley said, I did this, I don't know, it was in the fall, I guess, of last year, late summer, early fall, and it was wonderful to do. And yes, this is probably a really opportune time to talk about mindfulness. If you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, even if you're just working a job, it doesn't really make a difference, but especially for entrepreneurs, I think this can be an especially stressful time. So I'm happy to be here and talk to you. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, hoping you can see the first slide here. Yes, mindfulness for entrepreneurs in the age of COVID-19, right? So real quick, I'm a former teacher, so I like to kind of just say what I'm hoping to do in the next hour, 50 minutes. Talk just a little bit about Clix, because Clix is who I work for. Paul, one of my teammates here at Clix, is on. He's waving at us. He's Director of Operations at Clix. I want to just, because they're sponsoring this, you know, let me take time off preparing the slide deck and take this hour out of my workday to talk with you. And they're very supportive of mindfulness in the workplace, both Paul and Jason, the CEO, and others. So I just want to take a couple of minutes to talk about Clix, and then quickly get into this idea of uncertainty, something that we're all living with right now, a little bit about self-care, and talk about mindfulness. I want to talk just a little bit about my journey, about how I ended up talking about mindfulness and where I came from and how I've landed here. And then I'd like to guide us all through a little meditation that will first include my voice, kind of talking you through some guided meditation, and then 5 minutes of hopefully just silent sitting at wherever you are, kind of just sitting in silence. So if you're not in a room, I realize we're all at home probably, right? So you might have kids or other distractions around you. Minimize what you can when we get to that point, but don't worry about it, right? This is about accepting where we are in life. And if where you are right now is a noisy space with kids and things going on, it is what it is. So we'll just learn to accept that. And then I want to definitely leave at least 10 and maybe 15 minutes, we'll see at the end, where we can chat, because I'm hoping that some of you will have questions, some of you can help each other and have things that you're doing that you found helpful and you want to share with the group. So I definitely want to leave, I want to minimize the me talking part and maximize the sitting practice and the chatting part. Okay, so I'll kind of go quickly through some of this. As I said, just real quick, a little bit about Clix. Clix is an outsourced digital marketing partner to companies, organizations throughout the country. We're based in St. Louis, which is where Paul is. We have about 35 members up there. The way we approach and by the way, I'm a business developer and sort of strategist for Clix here in Little Rock. I'm based in the tech park, for those of you that don't know me. Most of you do, but I'm on the 3rd floor of the tech park. So we have an Arkansas presence, and then we have our main St. Louis headquarters, where our biggest footprint is throughout the Midwest. But we solve problems. So really, we're not a vendor. We're not looking to have a transactional relationship with companies. What we really want to do is to embed ourselves and have a collaborative approach where we learn a lot about them and you learn a lot about us, and we together solve problems that lead to business growth through online channels. That's sort of the short pitch of it. We're very forward leaning, we're very transparent, and as I said, we're very collaborative. And again, we're based in St. Louis, and I am in the tech park here in Little Rock. There you see some of our great faces at Clix. I think Paul used to be on one of these, but not. There's Jason there towards the middle. He's our CEO. So these are some of the things that we do when we solve problems. We do digital marketing, which includes sort of SEO. Some people like to talk about SEO because it's not that I don't want to talk about it, but it's not something that we sort of hang our hat on. It's just one piece of the puzzle that includes a lot of different things that we do. We do web development, videography, photography, paid media, content development, email marketing, business automation, and social media consulting. So in a nutshell, we're looking at all the different digital channels. We're trying to learn about each company's leveraging of those digital channels, look at the deficiencies, and then come up with a plan where we, as Clix, if it's a right fit, we can help you build your business through those either existing online channels you already have or introducing you to new ones. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what we do. And again, I work on the strategy side and the business development side of Clix. My email, mike@clix.co, not com, just .co. I'm on the tech park at the third floor, and there you see my number. I'll put this at the end of the presentation so you see it again in case anybody wants to email me. Okay, so that's Clix. And again, thank you to my teammates at Clix and others who support me in doing this. Okay. Uncertainty, right? So what has happened to us is a great reminder of the uncertainty of life. I was talking with someone about this not too long ago, because obviously this feels like we've all just hit a brick wall, you know, like some freight train has just crashed into us. But in reality, it is a reminder of what life really is, of what our businesses really are. Those of us that are entrepreneurs and own businesses, work at businesses, everything is uncertain. Everything is uncertain. We like to go through our normal lives assuming that the health of our children, of ourselves, the security of our jobs, the friendships we maintain, the restaurants that we like to frequent down the street, or the dry cleaners we go to across the block, that these things will always sort of be there, right? We kind of go through life always assuming that those things will be there. Why wouldn't they be there? I mean, we know there's always a little uncertainty, but for the most part, we expect things to always be there as they have been. Well, we are learning, of course, the hard lesson or the hard reminder that much of life is actually uncertain. And all of these things that we cherish and value on a day-to-day basis is no longer guaranteed. And again, as an entrepreneur, which I have been, and some of you guys are, we deal with uncertainty a lot. I mean, that's when you start a business and you run a business, your own business, uncertainty is a huge piece of that. So it's nothing new to an entrepreneur. Maybe you've seen this quote: entrepreneurs are great at dealing with uncertainty and also very good at minimizing risk. And that's the classic great entrepreneur. Yeah, risk management, right? Those of us in the business world talk about how do you mitigate risks? You know, we do everything we possibly can to see those risks coming at us so we can pivot, so we can adjust our strategies, come up with new tactics so that we can continually mitigate and manage those risks that are coming at us. But sometimes what comes at us is unexpected, completely from left field. And this is a wonderful example of again, of how we have to deal with the uncertainty of life. The risks now are more even immediate feeling to us, right? They're not so nebulous and on the edges of life. They're like our own health. Some of you, I imagine, I bet if I circled around, every one of you knows someone that's has or had COVID-19. I think most of us are in that boat right now. I certainly do. couple of different people who have had it and luckily recovered from it. So we're worried about a lot. And our ability to mitigate risk right now is really challenging us. Again, both professionally and personally. So you know what? One good thing to remember here is you may as well laugh a little bit, right? So I love this one. You know, may as well laugh a little bit. Don't you know your dog is thinking this? It's about time that you have to wear this. You're touching your own face. It's for your own good. And of course, those of us who have kids, I have a college student, but some of you have younger kids. Some days we feel like doing this. I know you do. I know we do. We just can't wait for them to go back to school. In the meantime, keep pouring. So, and I'm going to pause here in just a second to maybe get some feedback from you guys. So let me get through another slide or two. So let's talk for a little bit about self-care, okay? Which is so important at this time. And your physical health right now may not be as much danger as your mental health. And that's in no way trying to minimize the physical health danger that we're all experiencing right now, the social distancing precautions we're doing to keep ourselves healthy. But in reality, if we were really to take some sort of survey of people, of the real health risks going on, for a lot of people, it is mental health, anxiety, depression, fear, anger, irritability. I bet if we did a show of hands, an honest show of hands, a lot of you, including myself, would be raising your hands at either one or any number of these, and some that aren't listed. So I think it's important to acknowledge that there is a mental health crisis going on as well as a physical health crisis. And the first thing that's, I think the most important thing here to kind of deal with that situation is to acknowledge it. Acknowledge it in yourself, acknowledge it in your family and friends around you, and acknowledge it in society as a whole. That yes, I am dealing with anxiety. Yes, I am dealing with some mild depression. Yes, I am dealing with this whole idea of uncertainty of life, and that scares the hell out of me. So owning up to that, I think, is the first step of mindfulness in many ways. And you guys wouldn't be on here if you didn't agree with that already, I'm assuming. Maybe I'm preaching to the choir because you all agreed to, to be a part of this talk. So have a self-care plan. And these are just some ideas, and then we'll get into the mindfulness part here in a second. I suggest cutting back on the amount of news that you consume. If you haven't already done that, I know friends who have already done that. Disable those news notifications on your phone, or New York Times and CNN and everybody else is constantly pinging you, reminding you of the next thing you should be scared of or upset about. You can catch up on the news a few times a day. You control that though. Put the control back in your lane, not in having it being pushed to you when you don't need it at that time, which is sort of that third bullet point. Focus on what you can control. So control those kinds of things. Name your fears. That's kind of what we were doing a second ago. Say, hey, I'm feeling scared today. I'm feeling really anxious or irritable. The kids are driving me crazy. They're running around. I am irritable today. Sharing that with your spouse, sharing that with a friend or a family member, but name that, acknowledge it versus shoving it under the rug, hoping it's going to go away, ignoring it, trying to be tough and pretend like it's not bothering you, all of the above. Develop a routine. With us being at home, we had a routine when we went to the office every day, went to the tech park every day, but now we're at home. So if you haven't really developed some kind of a routine for yourself of getting up at the regular time, doing the same kinds of things you used to do, we were joking around, Mimi and Ashley and I, about, wearing makeup and wearing t-shirts, that kind of stuff. If you can still, dress up. I mean, I'd say dress up for your Zoom meetings, but maybe every now and then resume some normalcy in the way you prepare yourself for the day. If anything, for your own sense of comfort and control and sense of that life has not changed. I mean, life has changed, but your interior life, the way you present yourself to the world, the way you interact, you have control over those things. So focus on what you can control. And one thing you can control is to keep some semblance of a routine. And that means getting outdoors a little bit. Paul knows, because I work with Paul every day. I take usually 2 walks a day, and round the block here, I take a break, get off my chair, and just take a 5-minute walk. I did it at the tech park too. And so get outdoors and get moving, connect with people and help others. That helping others, I think, is hugely underrated in terms of self-care, and mindfulness is what helping other people can do for your own mental health. And whether it's just checking on your neighbor next door to see if it's an elderly person, maybe they need groceries, they just need to say hello to somebody. They need you to say hello to them. Calling a friend or family member and visiting with them on the phone for a little bit, and FaceTiming with your nephews in another state, whatever it is. But think about how you can help others. That's a huge piece, I think, of your own mental health, as well as being grateful. I know I'm pretty grateful to spend this much time with my 18-year-old son who's home from college. Some of you have kids, maybe young kids, and you know what I mean. It's invaluable. Your spouse, you're finally getting a chance to have more meals together and to be together in more sustained ways versus a quick hello, goodbye, out the door, going here, going there. You know, there's a lot to be grateful for too. Even looking out this window where I am in Hillcrest, the sun is shining, the sky is blue, the birds are chirping away if you can hear them in the background. That's something to be grateful for. And then the last bullet point, which is the one that sort of gets into what we're talking about, and that's developing some sort of a practice. You can call it meditation, you can call it mindfulness, you can call it whatever you want. But some sense of self-care and some kind of a practice that involves quieting the mind, which we'll talk about here. Just real quick, hold on, I'm going to, how do I do this? Oh, okay, let me see. Have I unmuted everybody? No, I haven't. Oh, well, I want to just pause for a second to see if, hold on. Oh, goodness. Hang on, guys.
Hey, Mike, I've gone ahead and unmuted if you want to.
Oh, thank you.
Questions.
I'm toggling between all these screens and I didn't know exactly. Thank you. I just want to pause just for a quick second in case somebody wanted to interject something, wanted to say something. Anybody? Are we good? Okay, well, you can go ahead and mute everybody again then, if you don't mind, Ashley. That would be great. And I'll keep going. I'll pause again here in another couple minutes. Oh, hold on, except now I'm muted.
You're good, Mike.
Oh, I'm okay, sorry. Okay, thank you. It said I was muted. Okay, so yes, not thinking of you, mindfulness, little funnies and birthday card. Right, come on up, inner peace. We all want inner peace. And then this is the funny one, I think, you know, people talk about meditation, you know, what my friends think I do, what my parents think I do, and of course, what I actually do. Looking at the watch, I can relate to this. I sat for about 30 minutes this morning with a group in Lawrence, Kansas that I do Tuesdays and Thursdays meditations with. And I think the last 5 minutes, I was definitely doing that. I was looking at the clock, thinking my leg is falling asleep, when this is going to end. But that's okay. All right, so real quick, mindfulness can be, for me, summarized as washing the dishes. What do I mean by that? When you wash the dishes, do you wash the dishes to be done, to go watch TV, to go get back on your computer, to return a phone call? Or are you washing the dishes to really wash the dishes? So think about that for a second. Do you wash the dishes to be done with the dishes, or do you wash the dishes to wash the dishes? So I think Thich Nhat Hanh, who is a Vietnamese Zen monk, is the first one who kind of talked about that little analogy of mindfulness and washing the dishes. It's really quite simple. Whatever it is you're doing, do you really do it? Or is your brain taking you someplace else and you're not really doing it? So mindfulness is washing the dishes. It is those simple moments of life, whatever you're doing, and being mindful in that moment of what it is you're doing. So as you're washing the dishes, you're feeling the soap, you're feeling the temperature of the water, you feel the texture of the plate and the sponge, you're conscious of the motion of your arm. You are really fully present in the act of washing the dishes. You should try that. And I think you will actually be somewhat surprised and uplifted. I don't know if that's the right word, of when you start paying attention to the little things that you always do automatically with no thinking about it. And your brain is usually someplace else. But when you bring your body and your mind together into that single moment, you'll be surprised of the little things that you notice about life. This is in essence mindfulness, to live each moment fully. So wash the dishes to wash the dishes, okay? You can do the same thing with walking the dog, cooking a meal, playing with the kids, reading a book. Taking a shower is a great example for me too, because if you're like me, you're in the shower and your brain is thinking about the day ahead and who you got to call back and who you got to email. You probably are completely unaware of what order you do things in the shower. Like you wash your left arm first, and then you do your right arm, and then you do your torso, and you put shampoo in your. If you will actually slow down and follow yourself when you're in the shower and notice the sequence of things that you're doing and exactly what you're doing, it's the same idea as doing the dishes. You're bringing your mind and your body together into the moment. So the reason I'm saying this is because this is not just about sitting in some sort of a lotus position on a cushion or achieving some moment of zen and blissfulness where everything is quiet around you. You can be mindful walking the dog. You can be mindful playing with the kids. You can be mindful right now with me in sitting wherever you are, listening to my voice, noticing the environment around you, how the chair feels underneath you, the weight of your body on the whatever it is. That is mindfulness. That is true mindfulness. Now, meditation is a particular kind of mindfulness, which we'll practice here in just a little bit, which is extremely useful and a good way of sort of developing a discipline. But it's not just mindfulness. So what you're doing here is you're trying to create some distance. I'm assuming I'm still on camera here. You guys can see me. I know you can hear my voice. But you're trying to create some distance between you and the event in life. So whether it's you climbing up that grueling mountain on the left and you're just cussing to yourself, that's how it feels right now with what we're all going through, or you're sitting there in the volcanic lava of bliss, rainbow bliss, and everything is beautiful and wonderful. Neither one of those is really you. You are an observer of what's going on in your life. You're a participant too, but you want to also be an observer. So sometimes I talk about creating some distance between you and your feelings, you and your thoughts. So that's what we're talking about here. So real quick, a little bit about my journey into entrepreneurship and mindfulness. I'll keep this to just a couple minutes. I'll give you the quick summarized version. Some of you know it. But I founded a company with some other guys back in 2011 called Bourbon and Boots, which was an online e-commerce and content company. We were, I think, rather successful. We raised some $650,000 in capital from both Arkansas investors and out of state, and even an out of country investor from Israel or from France. We were a bit of a darling in the early time of e-commerce. Of course, Amazon existed, but they weren't the behemoth they are today. But in 2010, 2011, early 2011, we kind of hit the wave of e-commerce companies that were becoming popular. Our particular one, Bourbon and Boost, was focused on Southern culture and Southern content. But that's not what's important about the story. The point is that it went well until it didn't. You can relate to this if you're an entrepreneur. We hit headwinds, we made mistakes. I had to leave as one of the founders. I was kind of pushed out, and understandably so. because we had to make sure that the ones that stayed, the developers and the designers, were the ones that were getting paid. And what happened then, that was the beginning of a sequence of events that changed my life and why I got interested in mindfulness. In a nutshell, I lost my company, Bourbon and Boots. I then had my son, who's now 18, was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma as a 13-year-old kid and had cancer. I had a very close family member who was an addict, who was spiraling downwards into a very serious addiction. And I had a long-term relationship with someone that I lived with, and a woman who I was very close to, and obviously, and the relationship ended. So the point is, in an 18-month period, I hit a wall. It was my version of a Hurricane Katrina, or now I would probably say a COVID-19. It was a freight train of suffering that hit me straight on. Job loss, relationship loss, potential health, serious health concerns of my son, who, by the way, is obviously fine now. But nonetheless, it was a world of hurt, and I hit a wall. And so what I did is I turned to meditation, and it literally saved my life. For me, I turned to a Zen practice. I'm not here to talk to you about Zen Buddhism, but just so you know my history, I developed a Zen practice for the Ecumenical Buddhist Society on 3rd Street, across the street from the state capitol, which is a fabulous resource, by the way, whether you want to be Buddhist or you just want to learn about meditation. It doesn't make a difference. But I started attending regular meditation practices there, and the ability for me to sit with my suffering, not to be too dramatic, is literally what saved my life. And when I mean sit with my suffering, I just mean, like I was going like this, that distance, like to realize the problems in my life are not me. They're just problems. And really, they're only problems in so much as I perceive them as problems. Now, some things definitely are problems, right? The health of a child, there's no way to put a positive spin on that. But sometimes the things that we perceive as problems are not as big a problems as we think they are. So I learned to observe my life and not necessarily get so caught up in the storyline and me as its main protagonist that I identified it's me, Mike, that's had all this bad stuff happen, and I'm terrible and I've made mistakes, et cetera, et cetera. But I learned to be able to kind of keep me a little bit separate from those events. And meditation and mindfulness helped me to do that. And that's why I care so much about talking about it, because I think it can help other people too, not to get caught up into the self-identifying of all these things that are out of your control, that are uncertain. So that's my Hurricane Katrina there. Okay. So quick benefits of mindfulness. That you learn that you're not attached to your thoughts. Again, that distancing. I am not my thoughts. I am not my feelings. I experience them, but I am not them. Your ability to deal with one thing at a time, right? And as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, we're doing so much multitasking all the time. So a meditation or mindfulness practice can help you learn to deal with one thing at a time. And right now, especially, for business owners that are applying for PPP loans and trying to make sure they can meet payroll, and there's so many things that they're juggling, that we're juggling. So a mindfulness practice can help you learn to deal with one thing at a time, like wash the dishes to wash the dishes. Then you go to the next thing. Do that to do that. Then you go to the next thing, right? You accept the things you cannot change. A mindfulness practice obviously can benefit you in that way. Curb your tendency for distraction. I find myself, since I've been developing this over the years, I still get distracted some, but much less so. And it's also about establishing some control over things that do distract you. Like I said, not pulling out the phone all the time, not checking email all the time, disabling notifications for certain media sites or platforms that do nothing but make you into Pavlov's dog to salivate every time the bell rings and every time you see the little red button, on one of your notifications, right? We're so ingrained to do that. So take control of those things. There's enough stuff you can't control, right? Why don't you focus on what you can control? ability to comprehend yours and other people's emotions. You know, we're all a little bit cabin feverish. You're probably around your husband, wife, partner, children a lot. You know, everyone's sort of hunkered together. So I think a mindfulness practice helps you better understand, comprehend, and manage other people's emotions when you're having those issues and those interactions. You'll be more aware of what's going on with you and more aware of what's going on with them. Obviously, hopefully make better decisions and solve problems, and obviously a lot more. Okay, so perfect timing. We're about to 12:35 here. I'm going to pause. Ashley, if you want to unmute me, this might be a good time again to ask if anybody wants to jump in and say anything.
Yeah, let's open it up for questions. I'll go ahead and unmute everybody. Go ahead and ask a question if you've got it.
Or comment.
Yeah, I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I just wanted to thank you, Mike, for sharing your personal experiences. I've meditated for almost 20 years, but I've been saying that I went through my own personal pandemic that was similar to yours over a 2-year period with an ill adult child, and it still makes me cry. I lost a relationship, and I cannot imagine my life without that practice already in place. I just want to say that it helps significantly.
Thank you for sharing that. Yes, it significantly understates even sometimes, right? It is for me. When I say people that the practice saved my life, I, I'm almost not exaggerating. I'm not trying to
Oh,
make.
I agree.
Yeah,
Done
I'm
it
not
more
trying
than
to say I was
once.
suicidal or something, but I was in a dark, dark place.
Yeah. When I first started, I actually had in my early 30s, I had an arthritis that activated that was very debilitating. So it saved my life from a physical illness. I give it credit. I don't always publicize it quite that way. I do in private. And then even more emotionally, mentally, as I went through that hardship the last 2 years. So I've kind of joked, it brought up tears because I haven't had anybody share exact experiences like that in a while. But I've joked that I had my own pandemic. This one hasn't done a whole lot to me. I already had most of my tools in place.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. That means a lot. And I think there's more of us like you and I around, you know, whether in this Zoom room or they're everywhere else. But
and just to be transparent, I own a yoga business. I consult, I create yoga programs and mindfulness programs for behavioral health, from everything from substance abuse to my last one was an adolescent sex trafficking unit. So I love to share the gift, and I was very curious what this would be today. Also, truly an entrepreneur, so I like to go places where I can find support as well.
thank you. Terrific. That's so wonderful to hear. I appreciate you sharing that. Anybody else want to jump in, or we'll kind of get on to the practice, and we'll definitely have some more time for comments and questions towards the end.
I think that, I'm sorry, Becky, go for it.
Oh, no, you go, Mimi.
I just wanted to say, great, for sharing that, Wendy and Mike. I think I was with Mike when he was going through one of his or two of his scenario. My comment is, the slide that you had about meditation and what your friends think you're doing, and what your family thinks you're doing, and then the very end you're looking at your watch and what you're really doing. I feel like when I try meditation, I'm always the last slide that says I'm always doing something besides meditation. Because I feel like I have a hard time turning off the brain, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If I could just say this, Mimi, what I suggest to people who sometimes come to it with this idea that I gotta do something, like I gotta turn off my brain. Paul, I was ribbing you the other night when you were talking about needing to focus. I gotta focus, I think was the wording you used. But I think that's, it's not helpful to think that you've gotta do something. It's actually the opposite. It's about learning to watch what you're doing. And if you're grasping at things, so be it, you're grasping at things. If you're trying to control something though, and make some kind of an outcome come out of your meditation practice, you're kind of working against the grain. better for you to just let go. And if you have a horrible meditation practice for weeks and all you do is obsess on thinking and you're hyper focused on this or hyper focused on that, but at least you're aware of it. At least you're noticing what you're doing and you're not judging yourself. Not saying I'm terrible at this, I suck at this. Why am I even trying to meditate? I can't get my mind off of this. I can't get my mind off of that. At the very least, just acknowledge that and say, okay, that's where I am right now.
Good point.
That's being mindful.
Good point.
So let's do this. Let's get into a little bit of a practice and we'll talk some more.
I think Becky was going to say something.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Becky, go ahead.
Okay. So this, I don't know how much we can go into this, but just wondering, I've got 3 kids, and one of them is very, very ADD, similar to me and, the rest of the people in our family. And just listening to you talk about mindfulness is soothing to me. Just hearing hearing your descriptions of the steps and that kind of thing. So it reminds me that I really have got to build that back into my life because I spin out. How do you suggest we take some of this information and make it kid friendly and kid accessible for these little 12 and 10-year-olds who they know everything, but they're all over the place. And so, I would love to kind of bring some of that down.
Yeah. What I can do is I'll share with you, if you'll email me, I'll share you, and I can share it to the whole group. There are some great online meditations that are conducted by meditation instructors with kids, who have kids. Like one I recently watched was a lovely little video of a woman, a mother with her, I'm going to say 9-year-old daughter. And she did a short 10-minute meditation with her daughter and was sort of talking her daughter through it. So I think, short answer is, I think if the kids see you valuing your own self-care and taking the time to develop a practice, even if it's 10 minutes, whatever it is, they see you sitting, Mommy, what are you doing? And you say, well, I'm taking care of myself right now. I'm just sitting here. I'm just sitting here being me, whatever simple language, don't make it esoteric and difficult. But if they start to see you, they'll be curious. And then they may say, well, can I sit with you? Sure, why don't you come sit with me and we'll just sit here for a while. And so I'll be happy to share. There's some resources that I've stumbled on, online resources that I can share with the group who have kids, sorry. And the last thing I'll say real quick is, because you've heard me mention Ecumenical Buddhist Society, I'm on the board of directors there. I'm the vice president of the board. We're a nonprofit, we're a meditation center and a Buddhist center. And we have a parenting group that meets every Saturday at 3 online via Zoom, just like this, every Saturday at 3 p.m. And it's called Mindful Parenting Group. And it's a group of people just like us, Becky, probably, with kids who are looking for other parents to talk to about this kind of stuff and sharing resources. And again, I can get that information to you if you ever want to join one of those Zoom meetings.
Awesome. I would love that. Thank you.
Okay, so let's do a little practice, shall we? Quick little analogy here. Think of your mind like a puppy. When you get a puppy, you try and train that puppy and you get him or her to sit next to you. And then generally, what does a puppy do? Runs off, like within seconds. They're chasing something, they're chasing their tail. Hopefully you don't yell at that puppy, you don't scold the puppy, you don't say, bad puppy, stupid puppy, you're bad at being a puppy. No, you go and gently go pick the puppy up and bring it back next to you and say, sit. Puppy stays for maybe a few seconds. And what does the puppy do? Off he goes again. Again, you don't scold it, you don't judge it. You go get the puppy and you bring the puppy back. And you may do this many days in a row until slowly that puppy begins to understand what you want her to do is to sit next to you. And slowly those periods of sitting get longer. Think of your mind like this, right? Don't scold yourself. Don't judge yourself. Don't say you're a bad puppy. Your mind is going to wander off. So when you sit and you practice and your mind wanders off, don't say, I got to try harder. I'm not trying hard enough. You don't yell at the puppy and say, try harder, puppy. No, you just gently go get that mind, bring it back, come back to your breath. And yes, it maybe lasts a few seconds or a minute, and then off it goes again. It's thinking about the laundry, it's thinking about the kids, it's thinking about, you just gently go, oh, okay, come back, come back to the breath. And you do this, and if you do it long enough and consistently enough over time, you'll see that that puppy, that mind will begin to sit with you. So what do I do with my thinking? Nothing. All you're doing is watching your thoughts. You're not grasping good thoughts, you're not repelling bad thoughts. You're, in Zen terms, we're seeking our original not moving mind, right? That our minds are originally not thinking, they're not moving. But as human beings, as we've evolved, our minds have become very sophisticated thinkers. But the original mind is a not moving mind. And that's what we're seeking, okay? Hopefully you're gonna be sitting somewhere where you can be comfortable. Your breathing should be natural. Don't do any exaggerated, this is not about exaggerated breathing exercises. Think of your breath like a swinging door on a hinge, right? It just gently swings. It swings back and forth, swings back and forth. I will do a guided meditation here at the start in just a moment. So you won't need to kind of be thinking about what do I do with my brain a lot. Just listen to my voice if you like. But sit upright, your spine straight, your hands relaxed at your knees or in your lap. I would recommend you keep your eyes open, but like half closed. And the reason I recommend that to new meditators or even experienced ones really is that generally when you close your eyes, it's real easy to zone out, sometimes get sleepy, kind of half fall asleep, which is cool if you're wanting to take a nap, but it's not helping you become aware of being. You want to be aware of where you are. So keep your eyes half open, just look down, eyes half open, staring sort of gently ahead of you at some point in the distance. But I would recommend not closing your eyes. Okay, so here's what we'll do. I'm gonna get my little script out here real quick. Well, I'm actually gonna change my script idea since we're a little tight on time and I want to have still time for us to talk. I'm going to change this here, choose a shorter one. Okay, so again, I will, if you want to, I'll probably turn my video off, or it's okay, I guess. You see me, or you can turn your laptop away. You don't have to stare at me reading. Actually, I think I have a little nice shot here of Alsop Park, a lovely little bridge that's I go to almost every day. That for me is a very serene spot. Those of you in the Hillcrest area may recognize that little pedestrian bridge there. So I'm going to read this to you gently, quietly, and then I'll just be silent for an extra 5 minutes or so. So we may go a little long, maybe, Ashley. Hopefully that's okay. If you have a hard stop at 1 and you need to jump off of this, by all means, no offense taken, I understand. But I don't want to necessarily rush this either, because this is the whole purpose of doing this, to have a little time to practice. And again, importantly, to also give time people to ask questions and just chat for a little bit. So hang around past 1 if you can. And if you can't, certainly understand. Is that okay, Ashley? Or Mimi?
Yes.
Okay, cool, thanks. Okay, so make sure that you're seated in a comfortable posture, allowing yourself to sink into the ground beneath you. Let the chair or the cushion support you. There's no work for you to do. Just let your pelvis rest on the cushion or on the chair. Allow your spine to be long, from your tailbone to the base of your skull, long and free. Feel the width of your shoulders, the length of your arms extending down to your fingertips. Notice the breath moving your belly and ribs. Feel the warmth at the core of your body. From this relaxed, breathing body, let your eyes gaze out softly towards the empty space in front of you. There's nothing else to do. Just rest. Leave your awareness simply as it is, free from reference point. Don't follow the thoughts of the past. Let go of the thoughts of the past. Don't invite thoughts of the future. Let go of the worry of the future. Don't alter the thoughts that arise during the present. Let them come and let them go. Without suppressing any thoughts, just leave them all as they are. They're like clouds, appearing and passing. There's no need to reject or to accept them. Just let them pass like clouds within your wide awareness, is mingling with space. There's no need to modify or correct or improve or adjust your present awareness. Your awareness is perfect just as it is. We are training to remain undistracted. Awareness means not doing anything besides that. When you become distracted, merely come back to resting in open awareness, simply free and awake. That's it. Approach this meditation in a very gentle and kind way. Don't become irritated at yourself or despairing, thinking that this is too difficult. When thoughts like this appear, just let them appear. Don't judge them. Don't follow them. Simply leave the thought to itself. It will fade away on its own. Just rest in your present, ongoing awareness. And we're back. Hope that was a little refreshing respite for you. As short as it was, sometimes that's all it takes, those 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you can do. Not all of us have the time to take 30 minutes out and sit in silence when we have so many things going on, work, family, etc. So even 5 minutes or 10 minutes like that. I was going to share real quick, and we'll open up to some chatting, these resources, and I can send this to Ashley, who can then send it out to the group. But I want your attention here to the meditation apps, things like Calm, Headspace, Insight Timer, and 10% Happier. Those are probably the most popular ones, but there's others. If you haven't tried any of those would be great. That some people find them real helpful. I don't use them that much. I have some at the beginning, but try them out. Most of them are free or a short, small subscription. There's a couple of books that I really like: The Miracle of Mindfulness and Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind may be a little bit more if you're really interested in Zen, in particular meditation, but it's a great sort of introduction into a serious meditation practice. And then, of course, ebslr.org. As I was telling you, I was telling Becky, we have lots of different groups, parenting groups. We have a teen group that I lead on Monday nights. I'll kind of plug that real quick. Every Monday night at 7 p.m., I lead a teen meditation group. So if you have a teenager, let me know, and we'll kind of connect up. And we have adult stuff. We do live meditation on Facebook every day of the week. But again, if you go to that ebslr.org/online, you can see. And then this last link, Pandemic Meditation Resources, that's a document that's got a bunch of other links to different things, lots of different things, people who do videos and people who have guided meditations and whatnot. So I'll make sure that gets out to the group too, because there's some great stuff on it as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and stop talking and see if we'll unmute everybody. There we go. Anybody want to ask questions or share something or talk about how that little meditation was for you or anything at all?
Well, I just really enjoyed hearing your voice at the beginning there. It was very calming, soothing. I've never really even tried meditation before. I've tried to sit quietly in some place quiet and not necessarily made it focus meditation.
Yeah, well, meditation is sort of it's just a word. That's a very Zen thing too, it's just language, it's just words. So you can call it whatever you can. If you're taking time out to just sit and be quiet, you can call it meditation, that's fine. It's really, don't worry about whether you're calling it something or not. Is anybody else out there sort of have any suggestions for the group, like things that helping you during this time of being kind of hunkered down and all the uncertainty professionally, personally, anything that you're doing that maybe the group would like to know that you find helpful personally?
Well, I'll second your put a routine back in place. I think initially when everything is suddenly changed, there's you kind of want to embrace that and just kind of be free. There's something almost freeing about, okay, all that stuff that I always do doesn't really matter. But then after a while, it feels like chaos and it just adds stress. And so I know this last weekend, I finally said to myself that I'm going to get back up at, I'm going to get up at 5:30 like I used to when I had to go into the office, but I'm going to get up at 6. I'm going to work out. I'm going to shower. I'm going to have breakfast, and then I'm going to sit down to work, and even just that, bit of small change. Sorry, that's the beginning of last week. In the last week and a half, I feel completely different about entering my workday. So I think it's important, whatever your routine is, that it's good to have that.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I don't know whether anybody else has experienced the same thing as Abby, but I know I have too. Yeah, it's like I feel much better even though I don't go anywhere except to right here over from one room to another to sit at the desk. But somehow, if there's some sense of structure and normalcy the way I used to do things, that helps. It helps. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
I think the getting outside piece that you mentioned earlier, Mike, is so important too. And so is the routine, everything is. But for me, being at the office, I think I'm getting outside more now working from home than I was at the office. I would, occasionally make it out to go eat lunch. But working from home, my dogs remind me that I need to go outside and play ball with them, or, just to sit outside and answer a few emails on my back porch. So that's been nice.
Yeah, thank goodness this happened at this time of year, like not in the dead of winter or something, when we couldn't get out at all. It would be so miserable to be outside. At least now, it's spring and most days are decent, if not gorgeous.
Yeah, it's
And-
true.
and-
Yeah, it's a little harder, when it's raining and it's gray and it's 2 or 3 days of rain. But I've always said, from my friends and family members who are in some beautiful areas like Florida and California who have constantly beautiful weather, you don't have that sense of just pleasure when the sun comes out. It's like the sun's out. You wake up in the morning and first thing you say is, "Oh man, the sun's out."
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally.
What is that kitty cat there?
Cute.
Yeah, he has a new windowsill perch, which is sitting right to the left of my desk. And I need to like move my desk over 2 feet so that he can't just walk across whenever he feels like.
Gonna help. Marianne and I used to have 2 kitty cats, and it didn't matter what we did. They're in charge, right? We will have company and Marianne's got a beautiful table set, and you turn around and the company's coming and the cat's smack in the middle of the table.
Animals are our teachers, our gurus sometimes, whether it's our cat or our dogs. I mean, they, joke around that this whole thing has been orchestrated by our pets to keep us at home, right? It's really worked. They're home all the time. They're petting us all the time now. They take us for walks all day long. This is awesome. It worked. Well, I don't want to keep anyone too long. I'll quick little story that I'll share as an ending. And it's one I like to tell sometimes because it's a good reminder of the way that we let our thoughts sort of obsess us and hook us. And it's a little Zen story. It's very short. There's a Zen master that's out for a walk with his students one day, and they're on a beautiful little trail. And the Zen master turns to his group of students and he says, "You see that boulder over there?" They go, "Oh, yes, Zen master, we do." And he says, "Is that boulder heavy?" And the Zen students all look at each other and they turn back at him and they say, "Yes, that boulder is very heavy. That's a very heavy boulder." They think they're smart. And he looks at them and he goes, "Not if you don't pick it up." So think about how often we pick up boulders in our minds that we don't need to pick up. We just assume that thought, that thing we obsess on, I gotta be thinking about that. I gotta give it attention. I gotta. But you don't have to pick up every boulder. You don't have to do that. You always have a choice. So I don't know. When I heard that story for the first time, a little light bulb went off. And I remind myself of that often when I get hooked on some worry or some anxiety or some thought. Like, do I have to pick that up right now? Why am I picking that up? I don't have to pick that up. Put it down. So with that being said, thank you so much, Ashley, Mimi. Thank you, all of you, for inviting me. Ashley, I'll send you a link, a couple of ideas or resources if you want to send them out to the group. Is that the best way of doing it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I recorded this, and I'm happy to share this internally with those that registered and attended. That way you've got a video that you can watch back when you're feeling a little overwhelmed and stressed. You've got this to look up to, because this has been, some really good information that all of us can use and learn from.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you very much. And yes, and we'll look for that video, the recorded video, and I'll send that information over. And you'll have my email address. And by all means, if there's anything, if I can be of a resource to you in some way and point you in the right direction of anything out there online that could help out, I'm happy to do that. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mike. Very appreciative. Thank you to Clix for allowing you to do this. Big thank you to our sponsors, Frost and Wright, Lindsay and Jennings, for supporting us in our efforts and everything. We've transitioned virtually. I did want to remind everyone that we do have a webinar this Friday So be sure to register for that. It'll be a CEO panel. We'll have about 6 different CEOs on to give their insight into what all's going on. Facebook, our website, the newsletter, and a reminder to everyone, go wash a dish.
Yes, go wash the dishes to wash the dishes.
Yes, wash the dishes. Thanks so much, Mike.
You bet. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.